Where is he?
あいつは今どこにいるんだ
No idea,
さっぱり
Marty.
だ、マーティ。
The smell of all that's furry. I'll never get used to it.
Well, reptiles have
爬
a
虫類は不
disgusting
快な体臭を持っ
body
てるん
odor,
だよ、マ
Marty.
ーティ。でも
But
彼
they
ら
feel
も
exactly
俺た
the
ちのこと
same
をそう
about
思ってる。
Exactly.
その通りとして、その通り。別アルコータルって言うから、その、取り方もいいけどや。写真通りの、おかげ。
Great wild ones, you scared the hell out of me.
I already
君たちの
sensed your
到着は
arrival
署で
from
察知し
afar.
ていました。
You know, snakes
蛇
have
か
a different sense of
トカゲじゃなくて。
smell.
そっか。
And birds used to be our prey once upon a time.
その逆もあり得るって知ってる
Well,
そうだ
yeah.
な。今の
Luckily,
世
we're
の中
living
が
in
文明社会でよかっ
civilized
たよ。
times.
Lucky. Please take a seat. How can I help you, gentlemen?
じゃあ、ですね。ちょっと気になるな。
An isle of reason in a sea
狂
of
気の海の
insanity.
中の理性の鳥、理性の島。
Insanity is such a strong word, and it's mostly an abstract idea. Where does insanity start, and how long is one not insane? Interesting questions. Am I normal, or are you? Maybe neither of us.
すごい独特な発音だ。喋りづらいんだろうな。
You see, that's something I
で
think about a
それはよ
lot
く最近、
nowadays.
いや、最近よく考えることなんですよ。
If you like, I can give you an appointment.
いや、そこまでじゃない。
Oh, this is your chance, Sonny. Don't miss it. We're already here.
Marty,
うるさいぞ、
clock
マー
out.
ティ。見れる場所は壁。
Your office is rather
あなたのオフィス
Puritan.
はやや禁欲的です
Simple, I
ね。
mean.
というか、シンプルだという意味です。
Ain't that the truth?
Well, yes. I can't let my mind wander from my work. I only keep what's
ましぇん。
essential in my office.
まあ、多分性格的な話じゃないかな。ほら、仕事周りになんか自分の好きなものを置いてると、そっちに気を取られてしまうっていうか。
I see. That
なるほど。
makes sense.
道理にかなってる。あれ今その通り言ったっけこの、ケアトル石。いや、コアトル石か。ケサル石でいいのかな。こっちの壁は
Is this cell like the
この
others?
独房は他のと同じですか
I would rather call it a room. But yes, it's like all the others, except there are even bigger ones than this.
Why do you have bars
どうして
on
窓
your
に鉄格子があ
windows?
るんですか
Because it's a room like all the others, and I'm just an animal too, like all our residents.
ああ、なるほど。平等に作ったってわけだ。
With the significant difference of you being a doctor and not a patient. Am I right?
It's not as big of a difference as you'd think.
確かに医者が患者になり得ることも十分ある。そんじゃあ、あらかた見たところで、話を聞いていこう。
To be honest, gentlemen, your visit is anything but a surprise. I could
そ
even
うしてい
say
たとシュラ言
I
え
was
る。シュラ。
expecting it.
What an
なんていう自己
introduction.
紹介。
Please forgive me. I have the bad habit of immediately getting into the middle of things. How very rude of me.
呼ばれてますよ。
My name is Dr. Sessuous Quetzalcoatl.
あ、いや、
But
言い方で
most
笑っちゃい
call
けないな。
me Dr.
僕も
Quetzal
滑舌
to keep it
滑舌がそんなに良くないから。
simple.
さて、
The name is Santino
私はサンティーノ・フ
Featherland,
ィザ
and
ラ
this is my
こ
partner
っちは相棒
Martin
のマーティン・マーク
McChicken
チキン。
From the predatory division of the Clawville Police Department. Your fame is one step ahead of you.
We're used to it.
Certainly.
We have some
あなた
questions
のあ
about
る
one
患
of
者
your
さんについて
patients,
質問
if you
させて
don't
もらってもいい
mind.
ですか？
We'd like
そ
to
れと
talk
彼
to
と
him,
直接
if
話が
that's
したい。
possible.
話したい。
Please be specific, Detective.
Look, Doctor, we're
Hey,
too
Doctor.
tired to play cat
ネ
and
ズミと
mouse. Not that snake and
あと
chicken
猫とネ
sounds
ズミ
any
がネズミ
better.
ごっこする記録はありません。蛇とニワトリの方が聞こえがいいとは言えないが。
Very funny, I must say. Just what I expected from you two detectives.
We know you know
アル
it's
バート・ウェ
about
サについ
Albert
てご存知なの
Wessler,
は知っています。
Ibn Wessler's secret
イブン・ウェサの
twin.
秘密
Ever
の双
since
子、
we've said
彼
his
の名
name,
前を唱え
all
た
the
と全
doors
て
have
のドアが開き始め
miraculously
た。
opened.
まさに大当
That's
たり
what
だ。
we call a bullseye.
Well, yes, why should I deny it? We're talking about a rather illustrious patient here, who's also a very particular medical case.
Now, that's much
と
more
興味が
interesting.
深くなってきましたね。
So, are
そ
you
れで
willing to
彼に
talk
つい
about
彼
him?
について話してくれますか？
Because Albert, regrettably, has disappeared, and you are police detectives, I have no reason not to talk to you. Of course, I'm at your service, but you must understand I can't disclose information about my patients.
Not even if it's a
生死に
matter
関わ
of
る問題だと
life
しても
and death.
Everything's a matter of life and death in here, Detective. This is a hospital, even if it's primarily for the mind, not the body.
確かに。
Still, I'd
あ
like
と
to
不可能
give
な
the
こと
impossible
で
a
も試してみたいで
try.
すね。
Please, Detective, just do your job, and I'll do mine.
では尋ねてみようか。アルバート・タリウス・ウェスラーについて。
How long was Albert a resident
ア
of
ル
the
バートはどれぐらい
institution?
の施設の患者でいたんですか？
For quite some time, his first symptoms surfaced in his
うつ病、パニッ
teens.
ク発作、総合
Depression,
失調症。
panic attacks, and schizophrenia.
Was he brought here
何かが変だとい
immediately
うこと
after
が
the
発覚し
first
てからすぐ
signs
こ
that
こに連
something
れて
wasn't
こ
right?
られたんですか？
You know, the biggest problem with an opinion on insanity is that animals are ashamed of it. That's the reason our institution stands out here in the middle of nowhere.
それは表向きの理由だと思うけど。それで、
Because animals would rather
動物は
hide
直面し
what
たく
they're
ないこと
afraid
か
to
ら逃避
face.
するということ？
I couldn't have said it better myself.
As far as I know,
私
the
の知る限
Wessler
り、ウェスラー
family
家はさほど
wasn't
裕福
exceptionally
では
wealthy.
ありませんでしたよね。ありませんでしたね。
Indeed, they were rather poor, but we offer our services gratis.
それはまた、
Then how do you sustain yourselves?
By the grace of the treasury of King Hector III, of course.
まあ、要するに、補助を受けてるってことか。
I wouldn't have
それは意
guessed
外です
that.
ね。
My family and the royal dynasty had always been on good terms, Mr. Santino.
では次に、精神病院について。
What kind of a place is this
ここは一体どん
exactly?
な施設なん
I
ですか？
assume it wasn't
精神
built
病
as
院と
an
して
insane
設立
asylum.
されたわけではないでしょ？
It used to be a mansion.
邸宅。
Construction started during the occupation in 622. Then it stood empty for almost a century until finally it went to the crown of Cloville when Hector's great-grandfather took the throne. The rest is history.
How long have
こ
you
こで
been
働
working
き
here?
始めて長いんですか？
I've worked here for more than 30 years, but it's been in my family's possession for almost 150 years.
歴代の、家族でどう言ってんだろう。家族経営で受け継いでるってことなのか受け継いでるってことなのかな？
So if I
それ
count
では、王
correctly,
室の手に渡って
as
から
soon as it
あなた
went
の
to
家
the
族が
crown,
すで
it
に
was
所有
seized by
し
your
てきたとい
family.
うことですか？
That's almost accurate, Mr. Featherland.
What a lovely
あなた
inheritance.
にとっては嬉しい相続ですね。マダム・ザイバスについて。
Tell me, Doctor, do you know
彼
Madame
女をご存知です
Zavas?
か？ドクター。
Just like everybody else, I've heard of her, but I never had the pleasure of meeting her in person. I'm sure she's an interesting case.
そういうふうに見るんだな。
Oh, you can be sure
ああ、
about
それは間違い
that.
ないですね。
I'd gladly
機会
get
があ
you
れば
two
ぜひ
together if
言
I
い合
had
わ
the
せたい。
chance.
欲望は彼女にぴ
Spare
ったり
cell
で
would
しょ
suit
う。
her very much.
Is that so?
As it turns
彼女は
out,
小
she
さくて
likes
狭い
small,
秘密の
narrow,
場所を好
secret
むようなので。
places.
Oh, I see. What a coincidence.
ワクワクしてる。尋問が出ると。やってみよう。
Dr. Quetzal's a real
ドクター・ケツァルは
mystery.
謎だらけ。
But I can
パズル
turn
の
that
中
to
で
my
一番大変、
advantage.
一番
I
変
just
なピー
need
ス
to
に
focus on
焦
the
点を当てれば。
strangest pieces of the puzzle.
印象、謎が多い。じゃあ、第1の質問。
So when did
アルバイトは
Albert
いつ
become
病院の
a
患者になったんです
resident
か？
of your institute?
Albert and Hobart, or Ibn as you call him, arrived here almost exactly 4 years ago.
意外と最近だったんだ。
Could you
この
describe
日のこ
that
とを具
day
体的に話してくれ
more
ませんか？
specifically?
It was not long after New Year's Eve.
お店の数日
Maybe
後、
the
祈りが降
first
ってい
week
て、
of the
とり
year,
あえず風
if
が雨
I'm
のと
not
ついてます。
mistaken. It was sleeting that day. Wind was banging incessantly on the windows. The power was going out for short periods of time.
What was your first
彼
impression
ら
of
の
them?
第一印象は？
I already knew the Wessler name. I knew who they were. Or at least I knew one of them, Hobart Wessler. He was famous. Gangster, moneylender, celebrity, lover.
お
And Albert?
で、アルバートは？
He was new to me, an invisible grey
灰色の
ghost.
幽霊。
The family had tried to keep his existence a secret.
Why?
どうしてです？
Because they were ashamed of him, of course, Mr. Featherland. That's how it usually is.
What was your first
彼の
impression
第
of
一印象
him?
は？
He was silent, but observed everything that surrounded him. His eyes were constantly moving, never stopped for a second.
Was he afraid?
彼は怖がっていましたか？
I wouldn't say so. It seemed to me that he wanted to move into our institution voluntarily. It looked as if he couldn't wait to be here, alone, locked up in silence and darkness.
それはまた。
Didn't you think of that
変だとは思いませんでした。
as unusual?
Of course I did, but who am I to judge? It was rather special treatment.
印象は謎が多いに、詳細に必要か。じゃあもっと詳細にアルバイトの待遇について聞いてみよう。
What kind of
アル
special
バイトはどんな
treatment did Albert
特別
get?
待遇を受けたんですか？
You know, if an institution like ours has to accept a Wessler as a guest, there's bound to be some favoritism.
And complete secrecy,
理
I
想時は当
guess.
然なんでしょうね。
Yes, but that's the case for all our patients, Mr. Featherland.
Of course.
でしょうね。
So in
彼
what
は
way
彼は
did
ど
he
んな形
receive
で
more than
ど
the
んな特別
others?
待遇を受けたんですか？
Basically, we don't admit anyone into our institution without a complete and thorough prior assessment. In the case of Albert, we put that aside.
So you didn't even know
じゃあ
if
彼
he
が
had
何か
anything
を患
wrong
って
with him.
いるかどうかも知らずに。
Initially, no. He was more of a guest than a patient.
なるほど。あえて症状とかを聞かずに受け入れて、それから診察というか、こう見立てるっていうか、違うな。見定めるじゃないな。こういった症状があるんじゃないかっていう見立てを立てるんだな。よし、プラス10。無双化。無双化か。アルバートは、これ3番目の質問でしょう。
How did Albert
アルバー
relate
トはあ
to
なたとどう接しましたか？
Albert was immensely sophisticated and polite, so much so that his true emotions and thoughts could not be deciphered.
おお。
you? And that's why
だ
you
から
thought
彼
of
が
him
興
as
味
an
深いケースだと
exciting
思ったわけです
case.
ね。
That's right, Mr. Featherland. I see you're starting to get to know me in some way.
I'm just doing
自
my
分の仕
job,
事をしてるだけで
Doctor.
す、ドクタ
You and me both.
ー。がすご。あんまりうまくいってないな。
Are you telling
アルバー
me
トは
Albert
多
had
重性格
multiple
者、
personalities?
多重性格者だったということですか？
We found out very quickly that there was no other reason for the cause of his seizures. He had a cold and calculating personality who sometimes, especially on stormy days, took the reins over their shared mind.
He had these
こ
seizures
の種
from
の
the
発
beginning.
作は最初から起きていましたか？
Yes, Mr. Featherland, but they started to intensify after Albert left our institution for the first time.
He did what?
彼が何をしたって
Left the
テストを出た ?2
More
回以上
than once?
Oh, yes, Mr. Featherland. Albert left the institution on several occasions until the last time, when he failed to come back.
Wetzel's not only very observant, but he's addicted to
テ
detail.
スは、
I must focus on that if I want to get closer to the truth. Focus.
真実に
Addicted
近づくこ
to
とに集中し
detail.
ないと、集中すべきこと、細かいことへのこだわり。確かにちょっと混乱するな。謎が多い。詳細に執着。武装化。混乱中。じゃあまず詳細にこの1番目の質問をしよう。
When and
アルバート
why
が
did
初めて
Albert
施設
leave
から
the
脱
institution
出
for
したの
the
は
first
いつでした
time?
か？またその理由は？
It was about 2 years ago. Mr. Hobart Wessler appeared and demanded we let his brother go free. Naturally, we obliged. We had no idea if we'd ever see him again.
でも、
But
戻っ
you
てきた。
did.
心が再開した。
He returned the same day. Albert was ecstatic. He was unrestrained. I could almost say happy.
幸せ。
That was unusual for him.
彼としては珍しいことですね。
I had never seen him like that before, Mr. Featherland. He just smiled and stared at the empty wall for hours.
Did he ever tell you what
本当に何
happened
があっ
to
た
him
のか、
outside?
彼はあなたに話しましたか？
Of course he did. Albert and I had a good relationship. He was working on a painting for his brother.
絵なんて描くんだ。
Was it a painting of a
素敵な
lovely lady cat?
メス猫の絵画でしたか？
Oh, exactly. So you already knew about that.
もしかして絵に飾ってあったやつかな？
Yes, Dr. Quetzal.
ええ、
I've
実は
seen
ケ
it.
ツァル、この目で見ました。よし。違うな。ために施設を出たわけじゃない。また1番目の質問。アルバートは
Did Albert
アル
tell
バート
you
は絵
how
画に
he
ついて
felt
どう思って
about
る
the
かあなたに
painting?
話しましたか？
From the first moment he loved it. He was fascinated by it. But who could blame him? A little
そういうことか。
diversity.
けど外出してナターシャの絵を描いて
lady.
戻ってきたんだ。
And of course, on top of all that, he could finally do what he loved best. Paint.
Which could be a
これこそ
surprisingly
効果的な治
effective
療である
therapy.
治療法である可能性がありますよね。
It could have been. Unfortunately, these excursions have greatly intensified his seizures. They have become more frequent and extreme.
アルバートは絵画を描き続けために、
So
ア
Albert
ルバート
left
は
on
絵画を
many
描き続けるため
occasions
に何
to
度も施
continue
設が
working on the
出ていたんで
painting.
すね。
Exactly, Mr. Featherland. Every time he came back, he was like a different person. But unfortunately, his seizures also multiplied and became more dangerous.
もしかして今のイブンってその弟なんじゃ。あれちょっと待って。こんな時期だ。アルバートとイブンが入れ替わってんじゃないかなと思ったけど、この押し付きがなくて、イブンを知る人たちからはやばいって言われてるんだし。いや、まさかでも、ね
More
より
dangerous.
危険に
Albert was hurting himself. And on one occasion, he even tried to hurt me. It was unprecedented. It seemed his confined personality was taking over their shared mind entirely, piece by piece.
Do you think the
絵画
painting
がその
caused
原因
it?
となった可能性があると思いますか？
Not the painting,
絵画そのもの
Mr.
ではありません
Featherland.
よ。デザールそのものではない。
But its
まあ戻りですね。
subject.
Exactly. He was obsessed right until that fateful day when he returned to us for the last time.
What exactly
その
happened
一
that
体その
day,
日に何が起こっ
Doctor?
たんですか？
It wasn't Hobart who brought his brother back that day, but two of his gorillas. Not literally, I mean. And Albert was in a terrible, terrible state.
What happened to
彼
him?
はどうなったんですか？
I don't like to talk about that, Mr. Featherland.
It could be vital to the case,
また
Dr.
今朝
Wetzel.
事
Don't
件の
back
解決にとっ
down.
て極めて重要かもしれないんですよ。ここで引き下がらないで。
Oh, you're right. There's no use turning back now. So, Albert's tongue was torn out, or cut off, I don't know exactly, and he was blinded in one eye, or rather, one of his eyes was missing entirely.
舌を切られて片目がなくなる。喋れないようにしたのか。片目だけってどういうことだろう。
So you're
つまり
saying
アルバートは視
Albert
力
was
損傷を
brought
受けて
back
戻ってきたんですね。
horribly mutilated.
Yes. And they didn't give any explanation as to what had happened. They simply told me it was some kind of accident.
事故。ね
Dr. Quetzal
え。ダ
is
ケツァルは
cold
冷
and
静でプロ意識
professional,
が高い
but
が、
he's also
大変
very
混乱している。
confused.
残酷かもしれないが、ア
Maybe
ルバー
it's
トについ
cruel,
ての
but
情
I
報を
must
全て知りたい。
exploit his
復讐すべき
vulnerability
こと、
if I
混乱
want
して
to
いる。
learn everything about Albert. Focus, confused.
よし。ちょっと待って。頭グラグラしてきた。眠たいのかもしれないな。この3番目の質問にしてみよう。
Maybe it's
ま
not
ずのそれ
easy
か
for
も
you
しれ
to
ません
talk
が、
about
彼の
it,
傷を
but
徹底的に調べました
did you
か？
examine his wounds thoroughly?
I'm not that kind of doctor, Mr. Featherland.
髪切ら
But
れた。
even I could determine his tongue was either
目は
cut
くり抜かれ
out
て、
or
骨
bitten
も何
off,
も折られる。
and his eye was gouged out. He also had several broken bones.
仮にイブンがアルバートと入れ替わっていたとして、アルバートの目的はナターシャか。でもなんで今更イブンを殺される必要があるんだ？いや、まあアルバートとしても、どちらにしても、
But there's no doubt it wasn't an accident.
I don't believe it was, Mr. Featherland.
I totally
了解
agree.
です。 集中して。
Concentrate, Doctor. What do you think happened to Albert?
I'm sure it was
Hobart, I'm saying.
Hobart. He ordered his men to mutilate poor Albert.
But why would he do that?
Maybe Albert saw something he could accidentally reveal.
To whom?
誰に対して？
Four
四方の
walls,
壁
a
に
couple of
弟子
crazies,
医
you.
療患者に対して？あなたに？
To anyone, Mr. Featherland.
I don't think it's
そ
that
んなに
simple,
単純だ
Doctor.
とは思いませんが、
But
すべて
thank
の
you
回答
for your
を感謝
honest
します。
opinion.
You're welcome, Detective.
20。今の質問でよかったんだ。ちょっと自信がなかった。最後かな。
What happened
それから
then?
どうなったんですか？
How did
アルバイ
Albert
トはどのような
disappear?
姿を、どのように姿を消したんですか？
A few weeks later, Hobart came to visit Albert one more time. Albert had been in terrible condition by then. We even had to transfer him to another cell, a more safe one.
安全な部屋。
What did Hobart do
ホバート
during
は
the
訪問
visit?
時何をしましたか？
He didn't do anything. He just sat and watched his brother, who was in an almost vegetative state by then.
Couldn't you
彼
manage
から
to
何も
draw
情報を引き
anything
出し
out
ま
of
せんでした
him?
か？あなた
You
も
or
ホバートも
Hobart?
Nothing. For a while, he was trying to signal
指
something.
もおそらく骨折。
Perhaps he was too
文字も
afraid.
書けなかった。
And most likely his fingers had been broken too, so he couldn't even write.
Do you think
ホバー
Hobart
ト
could
がアルバー
have?
トを殺した可能性があるとお考えですか？
It's horrible to say it, but I'm sure of it.
How did he
最
disappear
後は
in
どの
the
ように
end?
いなくなったん
Did
でしょう？
someone
誰
come
かが
for
迎え
him?
に来ましたか？
That's what's most eerie about it all, Mr. Featherland. He simply disappeared. His door, which only I had a key for, was open.
Did anyone see
何かを目
anything?
撃したものは？
No one. We interrogated the staff, even the patients. He simply vanished off the face of the wilderness. We don't know what happened to him.
Unfortunately,
残念ながら
I
見
have
当
a
はつく。
hunch. Thank
あ
you,
りがとう、
Doctor.
ドク
You've
タ
been a
ー。
great
助けになりま
help.
した。
Oh, well, I'm glad I could be of help. But please, I now must attend to my work.
We understand,
わかり
Doctor.
ます、ドクター。
Thank you.
ありがとう。よし。重要な手がかり。アルバート・ウィスラーが姿を消したが、そいつに何があったのか、なんとなくわかる気がする。じゃあちょっと整理しよう。アルバート・ウィスラーが姿を消した。だがそいつに何があったのか、なんとなくわかる気がする。で、なんて書いてある？イブンはおそらく自分の弟、アルバート・ウィスラーを殺し、ジップにその死体を捨てさせたのだと思われる。合理的な説明としては、とりあえずそんなところだろう。お、埋まってる。ちょっと噛んじゃった。数字が面白いなんて初めて聞いたな。ゴーブル建国以降、同国の征服が試みられたことが一度だけある。ハラール帝国が植民地を除くクローベル全域を手中に収め、622年から677年まで同国を統治していた。この年代は半世紀占領時代と呼ばれ、最終的にはスラウスと ブラボースラビアの支援によってクロービルの主権は取り戻されることになった。
That's quite shocking information.
本当衝撃的だ。それは衝撃的な情報だ。
I think you understand why we kept it a secret. If it wasn't for Mr. Wessler's demand, we'd never let any of our patients walk freely outside our institution.
Then
それから事故
the
が
accident
起こった。
happened.
Accident? Ha! We didn't believe it, not for a second. After Albert came back to us, horribly mutilated, he was different.
Different how?
変わり果てていたとは
If someone got one of his eyes poked out and his tongue torn out, he'd be different, but not like this. Albert was a different person.
We believe
僕
you,
た信じますよ。
doctor.
で、アルバイトの欲望
Can
を
we
見せて
take
く
a
れます
look
か
at Albert's cell?
I'd rather call it his room. Mr. Wessler lived in exceptional circumstances.
Thanks to the
おそらく
Wessler
の名
name,
前が
I
ゆえに
guess.
Yes. Well, we try to make all of our patients stay as comfortable as possible, but Albert certainly enjoyed special favoritism.
I hope you don't
この辺を
mind
見て
if
回っ
we
てもいいで
take
す
a
か
look around in there.
That's not going to bother anyone.
Well, that's surprising.
こいつは驚きだ。
I've never seen a cell like this before, that's for sure. I wouldn't mind living here myself.
It seems that
ですら
being
一
a
族であること
Wessler
を
gets you
という
privileges.
ことには特権がついてくるようだな。
And a healthy dose of danger.
Mostly that.
口がほ
Yeah.
とんどだな。
Let's take a
あ
good
たりを
look
調べてしっか
around.
り調べよう。
I'm
きっ
sure
と
we'll
ここには
find
何
some
かしらの
answers
答えがあ
here.
る。
I
そ
can
んな匂いが
almost
する。
smell them.
Well, I smell paint, ink, plaster, some kind of oil, aging paper, slight smell of rat, and great expectations.
それは考えたくないな。お最後の大いなる遺産。それについて。
What the
おいや、
dickens?
ディケンズの小説じゃないんだぜ。
Unmistakable. Yeah.
This place is
ここはお
bad
前
for
には
you,
良くない場所
pal.
だぜ。
But if you've already
だからどうせ
jump-started your
その
beak
くちばし
holes,
の穴
then
で匂い
sniff
を嗅
out
ぐ
the
なら、
solution.
ここの秘密を嗅ぎ出してくれ。
I'm on it, Boss Bird.
それでは、今回はここまでにしたいと思います。では、またね。